Okay, now that you are experts in radial versus bilateral symmetry, now we'll go over some terms that are associated with bilateral symmetry. I think of these as sort of animal directions like north, south, east, and west. So the first set of terms is anterior versus posterior end. The anterior end of the animal is the head end of the animal. That's the end that when the animal is crawling towards you or swimming towards you, that's the end you see, the anterior end. The posterior end, well, that's the end you see when the animal is swimming or walking away from you. Also associated with bilateral symmetry are the dorsal and ventral sides. So the dorsal side is the back side. In vertebrate animals, that's the side that your backbone runs down. Ventral is the stomach side. All right. So if you are a student of French, you know that, for instance, ventre means stomach in French, so that's an easy way to remember that. So if you're talking, let's say, you know I'm a terrible artist, so let's draw a reindeer, right? This is a deer. Yeah, it's a really bad drawing of a deer. Maybe make a little white-tailed deer here. All right, which would be the anterior end of the deer? Well, the head end is the anterior end, and the tail end is the posterior end of the deer. The dorsal end of the deer is its backside, and the ventral side is its stomach side. So it's pretty easy in four-legged animals. Now, what if we look at a human? We just, by being bipedal, we sort of mess things up a little bit. All right, so if a human is facing this way and walking in this direction, all right, well, what do you see when the human's coming at you? This is the anterior side of the human. And what you see when that human is walking away is the posterior side. But this is also our back side. So this is also our dorsal side, and this is also our ventral side. So in humans, the anterior and ventral are synonymous, and the posterior and dorsal are synonymous. Now, I won't go into it because we won't really be dealing with humans so much on our own. So we also have other directions like cephalic is the head end and caudal. All right, but we won't deal with that. All right, but what we will see in the animal kingdom is cephalization. All right, so I did mention the word cephalic. So basically the concentration of sense organs in the anterior end of the animal. So again, anterior and posterior, dorsal and ventral are important terms for you to know for the next class. All right, another thing we classify an animal on is the number of germ layers. All right, so germ layers are what you saw forming in the gastrula. All right, diploblastic animals, di means two. These are animals that when they are gastrula only have two germ layers. They only have ectoderm and endoderm, that's all. But most animals are triploblastic. So tri means three, and all triploblastic animals form all three germ layers. So that's the ectoderm and the mesoderm and the endoderm. Now, here's something very important to remember for this whole unit. If an animal is triploblastic, it also has bilateral symmetry. Or if an animal has bilateral symmetry, it's also triploblastic. So if you just look at an animal and you see that it has bilateral symmetry, you know all three of these germ layers form during embryonic development. All right, next type of classification, type of body cavity. Now, by body cavity, we're not talking digestive tract. All right, all animals, pretty much, almost all animals have a digestive tract. All right, A means without. Just like asymmetrical, an animal has no symmetry. A coelom, again, coel means cavity. Coelom is what we call a body cavity. So acoelomate means no body cavity. A pseudocoelomate means the animal has a body cavity, but it's not entirely surrounded by mesoderm. Again, it's just this weird little convention scientists, biologists came up with. To have a true coelom, it feels like this is really snobby. If your body cavity is a true coelom, it has to be lined by mesoderm on all sides. So one thing that's sort of cool is if we look at animals that we call worms, you can see examples of acoelomates, pseudocoelomates, and coelomates. So let's take a little look. A flatworm, and we will talk about these in the next unit or two. I love these little planaria and their big eye spots. These are examples of coelomates. So again, yellow. Now again, a worm, if you cut a worm open, you're not going to see blue, yellow, red, all right? But what this is showing you, the yellow represents the digestive tract, which we all know is formed by endoderm. And that it is not considered a body cavity. So this flatworm has no body cavity outside its digestive tract, so it is acoelomate. On the other hand, most of you are familiar with earthworms. All right, earthworms are an example of segmented worms, and they are coelomates. They do have a body cavity outside the digestive tract, and you'll notice this body cavity is completely surrounded by mesoderm. So it can be a little coelomate snob. An earthworm has a true coelom. It is completely surrounded by mesoderm. And other little animals that are called roundworms, all right, are pseudocoelomates. They do have a body cavity outside the digestive tract, but notice that mesoderm is only lining one side of the body cavity. All right, we're almost through the terminology. Another classification. In embryonic development, does the mouth opening form first or does it form second? So a little review here. Let's see, I think I'm going to have to switch back to red here for you to see this. All right, so remember, a blastula is the hollow ball stage of embryonic development, and the cavity inside the blastula is aptly named blastocele. You can fake your way through so much of biology if you just know these prefixes and suffixes or root words. Cele is always cavity. Blastocele is the cavity inside a blastula. And again, as soon as the second cavity starts to form, it is a gastrula. And I would love to call the second cavity forming the gastrocele, but unfortunately somebody beat me to it, and this cavity that's forming is calling the archeteron. It looks like it's pronounced archeteron, but it's archeteron. Okay, but again, ARCH is arc, so it's the archeteron. So the archeteron is going to form the digestive tract of the animal. And again, the opening to the archeteron is called the blastopore. You're thinking, why is it called a gastropore if it's in the gastrula? Again, I don't write it, I just teach it. I guess the logic would be if you have a blastula, the little pore that forms on the blastula is the blastopore. So again, the little opening that forms on the blastula is called the blastopore. But the irony is, as soon as that blastopore forms, it's not a blastula anymore, it's a gastrula. All right, so back to the question at hand. What forms first? So if, again, all the yellow is endoderm, that lines the archeteron. The archeteron will develop into that organism's, the animal's digestive tract. If the yellow is the digestive tract, that means the blastopore is either going to be this animal's mouth or what's at the other end? The animal's anus. So, in some animals, the mouth forms first, and these animals are called protostomes. Stome in biology means mouth. Proto means first. So, literally, the mouth forms first. All right, other animals, though, are deuterostomes. Here, the blastopore becomes the anus, and then the mouth forms at the other end. So, do you want to take a guess? What do you think humans are? Do you think we are protostomes? Or do you think we are deuterostomes? Go ahead, write down your guess. You have a 50-50 chance. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, did you say protostomes? If so, you were wrong. If you said deuterostomes, you were right. Yes, as humbling as it is, our anus formed before our mouth. So there's party conversation for next weekend. I guess theoretically we could all fart before we could talk. Not real flattering, eh? All right. Type of gut. With some animals, they only have one opening to their digestive tract. So actually their mouth is their anus, not really all that sanitary, but that's the way it is. But with most animals, we have a complete digestive tract with 2 openings, the mouth on one end and the anus on the other. The complete digestive tract is called an alimentary canal. I don't really care if you memorize that or not, you'll just see it in your reading. All right, here's a chance to earn some extra credit, so pay close attention. Animal phylogeny, a work in progress. This is the same song, second or third verse? This should sound really familiar to you. Traditionally in the animal kingdom, traditional taxonomy has been based on morphological appearances of the animal, what they look like, their body symmetry, just like what we've been talking about, and developmental comparisons. That's traditional taxonomy. So if you look at the traditional tree, let's first of all, the animal kingdom, according to the traditional tree, the animal kingdom is called metazoa. And in the traditional taxonomy, metazoans are a clade. They are, monophyletic. And in the traditional tree, sponges are all put into one kingdom called kingdom Porifera. I lied, not a kingdom, a phylum. Domain eukaryote, kingdom animal, phylum. Traditional taxonomy, all sponges were put in one kingdom, Porifera. And they are what are called basal animals because if this is the tree of life, they come out at the base of the tree. All right, most animals, though, are eumetazoans. That means true animals because they have true tissues. All right. Now, traditionally, eumetazoans have been divided up according to their body symmetry. Either they have radial symmetry or they have bilateral symmetry. And remember what you know about bilaterans. If an animal is bilateran, how many germ layers form? Yes, 3. All bilaterans are triploblastic. Traditionally, bilaterans have been divided up into 2 groups. Protostomes, mouth forms first, deuterostomes, mouth forms second. However, you know how this goes. Modern systematics, we look on molecular data and we try to base all of our taxonomy based on the evolutionary relationships of the animals. So there are some differences with this new tree of life than the traditional one. So what I want you to do is examine the new, maybe improved, systematic tree of life for the animal kingdom and compare it with the old one. There's at least 3 or 4 similarities and 3 or 4 differences. The people who find these first, just post one, will get extra credit. But there's not enough similarities or differences for everyone. So look at these 2 trees. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.